Welcome, welcome. It is, haven't a clue of the date. I do too. It's October 26th, 2015. October 26th. It's my brother's birthday and my sister's birthday. They were born 9 years apart on the same day. And I always thought that was too weird. And then I had two children born on the same day, 2 years apart. And that's just weird too. Anyway, welcome. We are excited to be here. You guys know I love doing these. I love preparing for them. I love learning, all of the above. So thanks for being here. And we tonight are talking about fabric and pattern combinations. So I get so many emails just on you didn't like this and you didn't like this and it didn't work out because da da da. And sometimes when I look at it, I thought, oh, that's not a good combination together. And you have to recognize a lot of it is taste. You know, our taste in the fabric, our taste, it's taste. But I do believe that taste can get better. Our taste can be taught. We can be, I know mine has. And because I look at things I made 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and I would not wear them today. And that's not just because styles have changed, just because I don't like them anymore. So we're constantly changing. That's just what life's about, and that's a good thing. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We've got lots and lots of ideas and things and ways to help you. Before we do that, we're going to answer our questions answers because I've gotten lots of emails on this too, and this is your favorite part. So I think to myself, okay, well that just nullifies the whole lesson I prepare, but that's okay. I'm glad you like them. I think they are important. And I think they are important for us to recognize that one of the things that I really love about sewing is that I'm constantly growing, constantly improving, constantly learning more. And I think that's the nature of the sewing. I just think that's the nature. I don't think I'll ever know it all. I think I maybe know more than you or maybe know more than another person, but I just really enjoy the process of learning more and more. All right, so with that said, questions. Do we have any? Do we have anyone watching? Are you there? The one disadvantage of being in my room is I don't know if there's anybody out there or not. Brett always runs this little control, and so I never know. The first question is, can you explain tie interfacing? Now that's an interesting question. Can I explain it? That's like Lucy or Desi used to say, Lucy, I need you to explain it for me. Explain. Tie interface, well, whenever you put a jacket into a garment, a jacket sleeve into a jacket, because the jacket of all of our garments is the closest fitting to our body, the closest fitting garment that we wear to our body, the sleeves are close, and what we know about less ease is less ease has less mobility. So little tricks, we do little tricks, and one of the little tricks we do is we open up the circumference of the sleeve, and in doing that we create a larger cap seam line than what we have armhole. So there's 2 inches of difference between the cap seam line on a jacket sleeve and the actual armhole opening. We know we want to keep the armhole as small as we can and still give mobility. So there's a 2-inch difference between the seam line and the armhole. So the best trick there is tie interfacing. And what tie interfacing is, it's used in men's ties, clearly that's the name. And when cut on the bias and pulled between the notches of the cap seam line, it pulls in the cap seam line, and the cap seam line, remember, is that funky thing that goes, the top of the sleeve. It pulls it in, it eases it in. And so it is tie interfacing is a very simple way of easing in 2 inches into an armhole that otherwise would be difficult to do, that tie interfacing. And keep in mind that in sewing, gathering is not easing. Easing should not be visible. Gathering is clearly, gathers. They should be seen. But we often misuse those two terms or interchange and use them when easing shouldn't be visible and gathering should be. So our sleeve should be eased in, not gathered. And tie interfacing is the notion that we use to make that easing very, very simple to do. And then the first part is to do the easing. The second part of tie interfacing is it becomes a sleeve head. And that sleeve head holds our jacket sleeves up so nicely and gives them a beautiful finish to them. So it kind of has two roles, has two parts, and it's great stuff. It's great stuff. If you haven't used it, you need to find out, use it. We've got YouTube videos on how to use it and when to use it. Okay? What pattern would you recommend for fur vest? Funny you should ask, because we're going to do that tonight. I would recommend 600, 400, same body. Leave off the collar, and then we're going to round out, like for instance, just saying, if this were center front, say 600 or 400, you're going to take the French curve and you're going to round it. No collar on a fur vest. I would just do a sleeveless vest. You're just going to round it out between center front and the neck edge, so that as you cut that, you cut it curved as opposed to straight up and over. There's no reason to do that. You don't even have to finish the edges of a fur vest, and fur vests are, as you clearly are seeing in the stores, they're just everywhere. If it's not fur or leather or stretch leather, it's Pontoroma. I mean, I think there's like 5 fabrics being used. There's more than that, but you know what I'm saying. They are in well abundance. Okay? Do silhouette patterns have a solid color knit to coordinate with your Italian cotton knit linear curved panel? We do. We do. We do. And I don't have it up. I will get it up. How's that? We do. In the next few days I'll get it up, because I was actually saving it to put it up with something else, but I forgot it coordinates with that. So give me till Thursday and I'll get it up for you. Okay? Good question. Thank you. I've sewn for most of my life. Yay! Embrace the muslin. Make it out of something you like but don't love. If it works, great. Oh. If not, no love. I never get to see the comments. This is fun. Hold on, let me read. If not, no love lost to pin, alter, pin. That's too many pins and alters, you guys. It's only L, C, D. So not that much pinning, all right? But yeah, you have to make muslins, you guys. You have to make muslins. You cannot tell by a pattern laying flat if there's right things about it. But again, you're not going to make muslins the rest of your life. You're going to carry forward what you've learned from those muslins. Is tie interfacing the same as or better than organza for the sleeve head? I think it's better. The reason being is because organza isn't going to give me that nice beautiful sleeve head. Usually when you use organza, you have to come in with a sleeve head. And so you're using two concepts, as opposed to the tie interfacing does the easing and becomes a sleeve head. It does both. Because tie interfacing is used in the inside of a tie, the edges of a tie, if you notice, they never are crisp. They have a nice beautiful fold to them, or they should. And so tie interfacing, the way it's woven, it's weft and warped, it doesn't ever mat down. And so the beauty of tie interfacing is it does two steps with one product. And that's what we want. The goal is to kind of minimize, reduce, make things go a little bit quicker and easier. All right? Peggy, when using the shoulder pads you sell, may they be laundered in the washer? Yes, they may be laundered in the washer. Both the 1-inch and the 1/2 inch, both can be laundered. I launder them all the time. Just make sure they're secure into the jacket. But yeah, I'm sure you guys all have front loaders, right? Next time your washing machine breaks, you should be cheering for it to break. You want to buy a front loader. Front loaders are the best. I shouldn't say they're the best. They're the most gentle on your clothes. And so, especially if you're washing your jackets and things of that nature, the front loaders will really be much kinder to it than a top loader. All right, if I feel I need a little more room across mid-back, mid-armhole area, what should I do? If you're using a silhouette pattern, you should probably go up a size. Or up, if you're in the regular size. If you're in the W sizes, go up half between the size. And I get this all the time, you guys, but when you are tight in the back, really that's telling you you're tight all over. You're just not getting it. I think that was kind of rude the way I said that, but it just means that the garment is too small everywhere. It's not just in the back. You're just feeling it in the back. It's probably too small everywhere, so I'd go up a size. Now, having said that, our W sizes go 4 inches in difference, so a lot of times you can cut in between the sizes and that will be adequate. So either go up a half size or a size, but it's probably too small everywhere. It's not just, you know, that one place. Do you line a fur vest? I did. You don't have to. Sometimes in the inside of faux furs, they're beautiful. The back of those are real. Now you're talking fur, real or faux fur, but anyway, I'll answer both. On faux fur, they have some beautiful backs to them. There's no reason they need to be lined. It's simply cosmetic if you decide to line them. On the back of the fur that we have, the real fur, it's leather, so you definitely wouldn't want to line that. You would want to let that show. It's gorgeous. In fact, if you turn the leather to the outside on your facings, you've automatically got a leather trimmed fur vest, but you simply used the inside and turned it back, so it's really pretty. Peggy, did you line the tank top you made out of the black white ombre silk? No, the tank top I made, no, it was not lined. Generally a silk blouse isn't going to be lined because it slips. Lining, if you look at the definition of lining as to why we line to stabilize, we line to retard wrinkling, we line to cosmetically just beautify the inside. Sometimes we line to hold everything in place. But none of those things need to happen with a tank top. Silk is very stable and sturdy. A tank top has its own finishes and linings. I was wearing something over it, so none of those reasons do I need to line anything like that. But I love that tank top, by the way. I've worn it several times already. What pattern would you recommend for slim-fitting pants? 3200. 3200 is our go-to pants pattern. I was talking to a lady the other day on the phone. I was taking an order over the phone, and she said to me, I want pattern 3000, those pleated pants. I want to look skinny. And I said, if you want to look skinny, don't get 3000 pleated pant. Pleats will never make you look thinner. 3200 is the go-to pant. It's darted in the front, darted in the back. No futs, no mutts. It's just a great slim fitting. You can change the leg at the hem if you want to make it bigger or smaller, but it is a really slim fitting pant. You could do it in stretch and it would be awesome as well. So it's, you know, been in our line for a long time. Sally's pant number 3200. And it's still there because it's just a classic and it just keeps coming back. It's the cigarette pant of the 50s, etc., etc. Okay? All right. I saw a previous webcast where you mentioned instructions for making a muslin but cannot find it on the website. Any help? Yes. If you go to Silhouettes, Patterns, go to the home page and you'll see the tabs across the top. Go to Instruction, and when you hit Instruction in the left-hand column, you will see it's the one-day seminars column. It's that column over there. It'll say seminars at the top. You're going to go down there and it will say attention registrants. And it will have instructions to make all the different muslins. And so you can just click on any of them, you can download them, and you're on your way. It has a top, a jacket, pants, whatever. And again, go over to Instruction, the tab at the top of the very home page, and then it's in the left-hand column. All right? All right. I love using pattern 600. Yay! Me too. I love that. Love that blouse. I would like a small shoulder pad for it. Do you think you will ever carry 1/4-inch shoulder pads? You know, I can't say ever. The only reason we carried shoulder pads in the first place was that I had gone to a seminar and not had shoulder pads, and we were like way up in Keystone, Colorado, which is an hour away from anything, you know, where you can get any supplies. There's no shoulder pads in Keystone, Colorado. So I was driving in, my brother lives out there, and I was driving in to have dinner with him, and I said, I will stop by Joann's and pick you up a pair of shoulder pads for one of the ladies in the workshop. and I was looking at their shoulder pads once I got there, and I don't remember if it was Joann's or Hancock's, but nonetheless, shoulder pads were not only ridiculous, they were foam and they were horrible, but they were really expensive. Now I got her a pair just because she needed a pair, but that was really the only reason I started carrying shoulder pads, was because I didn't realize what lacked out there. Quarter-inch shoulder pads, I've seen them. I don't know if they really are, maybe if they're really not out there, you guys can shoot me an email and says you can't find them. But the quarter-inch shoulder pads, I would think would not be too hard to find. It was the half-inch in the non-foam. I hate foam shoulder pads, and then the 1-inch in the non-foam. So the batting is the best way to go, because literally, like when I make a jacket and I put that shoulder pad in, that shoulder pad forms to my shoulder, within a short period of time. And so that's the beauty of shoulder pads. You want them to have not a life of their own. You want them to kind of join in with your fabric, and everybody gets married, settle down, and be happy ever after. Foam shoulder pads can't do that. Alright, if I go up a size to take care of that back area, can I then use a smaller size for waist and hip? Of course. You're talking circumferences, and you're talking about circumferences where you're trying to get mobility. So that's where you really need, that's where you should be measuring to get the correct size. Once you go down to waist and hip, you can always go down and change your sizes, because your waist doesn't need any mobility. It doesn't go anywhere, and your hips don't need any mobility. So absolutely, you can change sizes as you go down. Sure. What top are you wearing? I'm wearing pattern number 125. It's called Leanne's top. I love this. I copied it. This is not a new pattern. I just love it. I had copied out of Neiman Marcus, and I actually decided this afternoon that I wanted something new to wear, and I had bought this fabric specifically for this top. I had seen Lara Spencer on Good Morning America had this top on. Maybe not exactly, but it was very, very similar, and I just really liked it on her, and so I bought the fabric for it, and I hadn't had a chance to make it up, so I thought I'm going to get it done today, and I did. So good news. Thank you. Thank you, Brett. Okay, we ready? All right, so guys, I just can't tell you how hard my brain has worked on this webcast. I'm not sure that my brain has come up with any answers, but I will tell you that I have had many discussions on this subject and tried to kind of work my way through how do I best teach you what I've learned over the years. Design, it has rules. It definitely has rules. When we're talking about fabric and pattern combinations, we are talking about rules. But the rules, say do this, and then it will this, and if this is bad, then nobody's there to say this is bad. So, because it still works, if that makes sense. The rules don't not work if they're not applied properly. So the first thing I want to say is experience, you will get better and better. But also keep in mind that this is a very subjective topic. Talking about what I like, what you like. The goal of sewing is to make what we like, and discovering what it is we like is a process. And for some of us it takes 60 years, for some of us we never get there. But design is a process of really discovering and identifying what we like and how it works best on ourselves. A few years ago I was redoing my living room, and I knew what I liked, and yet I somehow just couldn't put it into words. And so I did a lot of pictures, and I worked with the guy who was doing it, and I kept showing him pictures. And he said to me, these all look alike. And I said, okay, then do whichever one you like, because I like them all. I like all these. But the bottom line is I just love my wall. And as I went to do another room and redid another room, I actually knew what I liked. I could actually articulate what I liked. The reason I'm telling you this is I do believe that it takes practice. And some of you don't want to hear that. Some of you just want to do perfect right out of the box, but I just don't think it happens that way. I really do think it takes practice. So tonight I'm going to go through and show you samples of what I've done, the thought process that was involved. So maybe throughout the process of all of this, you'll pick up on maybe something you didn't think about, or maybe you should think about etc., etc. I'm going to really ask you tonight to ask questions, a lot of questions, so that I can really figure out your thought process. But clearly, over and over again, in workshops and classes, everywhere I go, people say to me, I just don't know how to put it together. I don't know that it's going to work. I don't have any confidence in putting those two together. And, again, I'm not certain where that comes from, except I've done it a lot and I know what I like. Now, y'all know that I fail. You remember my clown outfit that I made a little while ago. I was laughing so hard I could hardly walk straight. But I'm going to tell you that in retro, when you do something like that, you need to go through and say, okay, this was why my thinking was flawed. This is why it didn't work out like I thought it was going to. And the failures are part of the process. Hopefully it's not $100 a yard fabric, but it is a process. Okay, so having said all of that, I do believe it's all about the fabric. Even from the time I was in college and I was taught pattern making, I was taught that it is all about the fabric. The goal of the pattern is to shine or spotlight the fabric. And so whenever we do that, and it's interesting because I think a lot of times we start with a pattern, where I think we should start with a fabric. And I'm a pattern company, so hear me when I'm saying I think we really should start with the fabric. So in looking at this fabric, and I absolutely love this fabric, we don't have too much of it left, but if you notice, it is a panel. It has a gray section to it. Then it goes into the blue. It's a plaid. It's two-sided. It looks like a cashmere. I'm not exactly sure of the content, but they're 1 yard panels. And most times when manufacturers create fabric, they do 1 yard panels simply because the end user 1 yard works well. So what I want to do is look at all the properties of the fabric. This would be my first suggestion to you. Literally, kind of. I think always it's kind of a two-ended sword. It's really good if we don't have a deadline, because then we can really focus on this fabric that I'm going to make and what am I going to make with it and what are the properties of the fabric and how can I bring them out the best possible. But then sometimes if we don't have a deadline, a year from now we're still looking at the fabric going, hey, what can I make from this fabric? And that's not good either. We want to chart progress. But this has a beautiful selvage. It certainly could be used as a trim. Look at all those properties and then say, okay, what are my options? Now, I really think that, and I don't know how many patterns we have, but we have over 100. I really think to have patterns, to have a working knowledge of what patterns are possible is really, but to have it closed and finite is really a positive. For instance, if I go to make something out of that, I've got 100 choices as to what I'm going to make with it. Now that's plenty of choices to have a lot of choices, but it's not so many that I will never be able to make a decision. I'll just simply go down the line and pick which one's the best. And a lot of times, if I've got a fabric and I'm trying to decide what to make with it, I'll sit at my computer and I'll pull up Silhouette Patterns, I'll pull up all the pictures, and I'll just sit there and go through, okay, first I want to do the category, and I'll go to the category I want, and then within that category, jackets, I want to make, this has a check. It's not so it can't be a shawl collar. I eliminate all the shawl collars, and it has to either be collarless or it has to be a notch collar because it's plaid. And plaids can't be shawl collars. That's incongruent. We've talked about that. So I'll sit there and just pull up those pictures. Now to me, if your choices are, gosh, all the patterns out there, Vogue, Butterick, I think that's harder because you've got so many. You've got a finite number of patterns to pick from. Where would you even start? Sometimes that can be a little bit overwhelming. And I'm not saying narrow it down to Silhouette Patterns, but narrow it down to something. Narrow it down to some maybe collection if you have them online, or if you have them in some kind of category, you can sit there and go through the ones you're familiar with. I use Silhouette Patterns as my frame of reference, if that makes sense. All right, so it is all about the fabric. So I'm going to talk some cases about the fabric right now. And first off, I'm going to go to this skirt. I'm going to use this first as an example, and I'm going to kind of pull it over to where we can see this. I think I can pull it over, Brett. Okay, can we see that okay? Alright, so the goal in this skirt was to use a panel print. So if you notice, the skirt, the front of the skirt, that's simply a panel. Each panel ends with some definite lines, but I just simply used the panel. I used one in the front and one in the back. Now what I did is I overlaid it. You can see that there's a skirt underneath. So literally I just used the panels right on top of the skirt. Now when you look at the front, it looks like it's just a skirt, but in fact the sides are open and there's a rayon black skirt underneath. So I just sewed the panels separate. So anytime you have any panel, now see, I personally love panels, border prints. I just go nuts with all that stuff because it just gives you such a unique end result, and that's kind of what I'm after. Is I love that unusual look. So in this case I used the Yoga Skirt 2010. Obviously it wasn't going to reach the sides because it wasn't wide, the border wasn't wide enough at the bottom, but I just did the widest part of the border print and tapered it up to the part of the skirt that sews into the waist. It wouldn't matter if it didn't go all the way. It really doesn't make a difference how much black is showing at the side. But if you notice from the front, and I know y'all can't see this whole thing, but because it has those black sides, the body actually looks slimmer as well. So not only does it do the job of a border or a panel, but it actually looks narrower. You look thinner as well because it's got the black underneath. So when I did this, I sewed the bottom, I sewed the top, and I joined it all together at the waistband. And very simple to do, and yet just a really great effect for fall, with like a little jean jacket, a pair of black boots. It's going to be just a real simple, great look. A pair of tights underneath and we're all good to go. Okay, so anytime you're using a panel or a border, that's what I'm going to recommend. We're seeing a lot of borders in ready-to-wear today. Border prints, I just love them. I'm going to show you a couple examples. This particular one is a border. This is a new fabric that we just put up, but you guys know we always are having borders because when I go to New York looking for fabric, my first question is, show me your border prints. And they've got a whole bunch because nobody else in the country, the fabric stores and every the manufacturers, everybody else they're selling to, they all say, oh, that's a border print, I don't want it. My customer doesn't know what to do with it. I hear it every day, all the time when I'm shopping for fabric. So I'm going to put the border print at the bottom. Very easy to straighten out the bottom because it all has to be crooked at the waist in order to hang at the bottom. Now this is the tank dress and all I did was lengthen this. This is actually a dual border. The top of this border is up in here. Now you can't see it a whole lot. You could see it a little bit more if I had done like a sweater set. But because I wanted to do the tank, you don't see it as much in here. But here's the top border and then here's the bottom border at the bottom. Now if you wanted to, and let's just say you weren't as tall, you could easily put a seam at the waist and you could shorten the borders and the distance between them so you could cut out any of this middle fabric. And you notice right around the hip area all the little bubbles and circles are very small, so it's very flattering and still gives you a great look at the bottom, which is what you get to the borders. Alright? Okay, so I finished this off just to give it a kind of a fallish look with a jean jacket which is made out of wool, just a nice lightweight wool, and then a belt that has the brown wood and the black in it, and that kind of pulls it all together. I don't think there's a single time when I start to do an outfit that I don't think about the big picture. I don't ever think I'm going to make a skirt without thinking about what I'm going to wear with it, without thinking what's going to be made with it. Do I have it? Do I need to make it? What's the total number? So there should be a plan. I think a lot of women, I don't think it's just as we sew, but also as we shop. We shop for one piece and we find one piece and we like it and we take it home and we buy it. And it doesn't really lend itself to so many other things. But so I think in all, and we've talked about this before, we need to make an overall plan. Something that is, they're all working together. Because I find the more I work with the plan, the more my clothes intermix one with another, and that's fun. Did you finish the sides of the panel? I did. So I just serged them, tucked them under, and top stitched. Now when I made this, I took the panel, I serged all the way around 3 sides, hemmed 3 sides, even the bottom. I did that to the front and the back. Then I made the black skirt underneath, hemmed the bottom, and so the only thing not finished was the waist. When I did the waistband, I simply connected all the pieces together at the waistband, so it was finished. The tank dress depends on your size, because the border runs horizontal, or runs across from selvage to selvage, and so I only used a yard, because a yard goes around you, and the length of it is the width of the fabric. It's 60 inches wide, so a yard does it. What pattern is the jacket? The jacket is pattern number 900. It's called Carol's Jacket, and it works well because if you notice, there's like the golden brown zippers in it all throughout, so it just kind of all repeats the same theme over and over and over throughout the whole garment. The garment really reacts nicely with itself. The jacket? These are just zippers. These are just zippers. Keep in mind, whenever you're using brown, you're generally, in this case, you're using gold. So I'm picking up all the brown and gold that I can. So the jacket has the kind of bronzy teeth. It has, same with the snaps. The belt itself has the brown and the black. So you're just repeating those themes, and everything you're choosing to go together, you're repeating those themes as to what works well. And I was reading an article a little while ago about accessories and how to pick out accessories and what will work. And the article said at the very end, once you have all your accessories chosen and you're ready to walk out the door, take away one. And I've thought of that like every time I dress, because I think sometimes we simply over accessorize and we don't kind of know where to quit. But accessorize and then choose the one you like the best, that you think makes the best contribution to the outfit, and then take one away. And I think the reason that works is because so many of us have accessories that are emotional. We have rings or bracelets or whatever they are that they're emotional, and so rather than becoming accessories, they almost become mainstays, if that makes sense, and they don't really lend themselves to the outfit. They're sometimes something we just wear all the time, which is not a bad thing, but when we can lend ourselves to the outfit, that's even better. I don't use a design board. I'm not saying you shouldn't or couldn't. I don't know what is with my head. I say this to my kids all the time. My head is just constantly being bombarded with ideas, and sometimes it's hard to shut it down. Sometimes laying in bed, but I'm going to tell you where that comes from. I think it comes from. I think it comes from shopping. I think it comes from, because I've said to Brett many times, you know what, I'm idealless. I've just got to get out there, and for me it means I'm not out there enough. It means I need to go more. I need to be exposed. There's so many ideas out there. There's so much that I find that when I'm idealless, it's simply because I'm hanging out at the house too much and I'm not exposing my brain to things. And I will say also, while I think the internet is terrific, it is not the same as shopping. And I know, I'm sorry for you who lives in small towns, it's just not the same, because number one, the volume of what's literally in the stores is so much more than what's online. And I'm going to show you in a little bit something I found in the stores and I loved it. I went online to try to just simply show you guys where you could find it and see it, and I couldn't find it. I can't see it, but it's in the stores currently. So I think if you do live in a smaller area that doesn't have as much shopping, I think there should be regular, you're a sewer, you're a designer, that's part of your life and your hobby and your love. So I think you have to budget times to go, and you're not buying, you're just doing research and you're getting ideas. And phones are great because I'm always taking pictures. I'm taking pictures like crazy, and when I go through those ideas and go through those pictures, oh, that's right, I saw this and I forgot to do it. I really like that. I'm going to do that. So lots of things I'm taking pictures of just so that I can kind of pull them together. So hopefully, and you have to keep stimulating your brain. You have to get out. You have to, if you don't fill your head full of ideas, the ideas aren't going to just come by themselves, if that makes sense. It's got to come from somewhere. When using a woven border print, does grain line become irrelevant? No, grain line never becomes irrelevant. Irrelevant. No, did I say that wrong? Sorry. Um, Grain line never becomes irrelevant. I did say it wrong. Sorry. Irrelevant on a woven. Never, ever. Um, so no, but I need to probably find out why you asked that question. If I maybe said something that made you believe that, it is not irrelevant. But you have center front that's straight of grain, and so the hem can be straight. There's not a problem with that. Okay. Do all the border prints run crosswise on the fabric or the length of the fabric? Not necessarily. A lot of times they do run from selvage to selvage, and so they run the length of the cloth. But there are times when they are you have two options. It's selvage to selvage, or it is, if it runs in a panel like this one does, that's a border print, but it runs in a panel, and usually those panels are 1 yard. Now that ombre silk that we have, it's like a gradated, I don't think that's the right word. Gradated? It's gradation. Anyway, it grades from light to dark. That has about a 2-yard repeat process. And again, that runs the length of the fabric. So it just depends. I don't think there's a normal, it runs different ways, but if it runs lengthwise, then we'll state on the site how long the panel is or how long the repeat is, so that you can figure out how much to purchase. Okay? All right. Question on the yoga skirt. Did you keep it an A-line skirt? I did. However, keep in mind that the panel itself was not as wide at the bottom, which is why you've got the black showing on the side. So the panel itself was not as wide as the A-line. I left the panel as the panel and made the skirt wider, and that was okay. It looks I just love the skirt. I think it's just really cute. Okay. All right. I want to go into this right now because this is the same tank dress. So I'm going to ditch this. This is just the little winter wrap we're going to put on it. That's pattern 83, Colette's wrap. And I want you to look at the tank dress again, but this time it's done with stripes. And I wanted to cover stripes for a couple reasons. Number one, because there's just so many great ways to do them. Number two, they're really popular, and I have a lot of options when I decide to go into a stripe. So in this case, I decided that my stripe on the top was going to go vertical. Because it was most pleasing. Whenever I'm thinking stripes, I'm thinking, how can I make them look the best, or how can I make me look the best? That's actually what I'm thinking. How can I make me look the best? On the bottom, I didn't want to go vertical because it was mundane, I guess I'm going to call it. I really wanted something more than that, so I decided to go chevron. So I went chevron on the bottom and vertical on the top. No horizontals in this case, and in this case I could get away with it because I'm using a tank dress. I'm not relying on the stretch anywhere, so it doesn't really matter which direction I want. This fabric's on the site. I don't remember the name of it, but well, tonight we always put them up, links for you, so when we refer you back you can go and get to the links. So when I'm looking for fabric and pattern combination, I'm looking, this is a stripe and I love the fabric, but I notice that when I shop, and I'm going to say this to you because when you shop and when you say, oh wow, this is just beautiful, or oh, I really like this, something catches your eye. And you want to work through a process of what is it that catches your eye. That's really kind of a goal that you're wanting to do, to discover yourself and why you like what you like. I notice I like weird stuff. I like weird textures. I like weird. I don't like symmetrical. I like asymmetric, but I don't like uneven. So you kind of can combine all those things together, if that makes sense. So there's certainly not a reason why you can't just make this stripe and call it good, especially if you like the print. Keep in mind that whenever you're starting a project, you like the fabric. So if you like the fabric, you're going to most of the time you're going to like the end result. But in this case, I'm always wanting to try to do something, a little twist up with the fabric so that I really, 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 really like it. And so in this case, I turned all the stripes different directions. So when I did the front, I made the skirt full and then cut it at 4 inches. 4 inches is where you usually divide the panel. That's at the dart location. That's a pattern rule. And then I went ahead and put these all on 45-degree angles. When you come to the back, because you've put it all in 45-degree angles, your side seams will all match. So you can see the side seam right there. So you don't really have to worry about matching everything. I think some of you are a little bit afraid to turn stripes at an angle. The best thing I would recommend is bias is a 45-degree angle. So in this case, this is my side panel over here, and you can take your French curve and you have a 1-inch square, and the purpose of these 1-inch squares here are to put them right at the front. In order to determine a bias, you take the 1-inch square and you put 1 inch here and the square of the next inch on the front. I can show it, I'm just afraid it's not going to show up. So here's the front. I'm going to take a 1 inch, and if you notice, I put the 1 inch right there and the square of it right there. So you can see that going right through that inch right there, it's right in center front. And if you notice, and if you look at the piece itself, that will give me a 45-degree bias. That's a perfect bias. Now, the reason that's an advantage is I can actually put that right on the stripe, and the piece itself will be on a 45-degree. And that's how I can end up with something like this, and it's the same angle on all the pieces. A lot of you know this. I just don't know sometimes if you know to take a piece that's not bias, and I'm really not putting it on bias, I'm actually putting it straight on the knit, but I'm using the advantage of the knit to create a bias. Knits don't even have straight of grain or bias. I'm just using the print of the fabric that's below. Okay, and then I left it open at the bottom and put a little slit here. And I will say, all in all, you guys, there's not a lot that I create. As much as I've told you this over and over, I copy. So I've seen the ideas out there, I take pictures of them, I kind of collect those pictures, then I go back through them as I need them. Don't keep anything unless you really, really love it for over a year, because the styles are just changing. If I'm going to make something, I'm going to make something that's new. Alright, are we okay with that? Alright, is that good? Okay. I made the belt. I bought this little belt buckle in New York. I think I showed you this, guys, and I just added elastic onto it. Yeah, sorry. This is just a belt buckle that I had bought, and then I just sewed elastic to it. I think I've showed it to you in previous webcasts. Okay. Okay. I'm going to talk about this one next, because again, I wanted to play with stripes. We have a new fabric. I absolutely love this fabric. It's cotton. It's 100% cotton, and the burn, it's pretty burn. So I wanted you to kind of see options with it. This is pattern number 311. It's called Victoria's Top. The reason I chose it is when I travel, I freeze on an airplane. I absolutely freeze. So I'm always after cardigans just like this that I can throw on, that are nice looking but warm. And I notice in my wardrobe, I go through them repeatedly. They wear out the fastest. I'm always looking for great cardigans. I don't necessarily care if they have a closure. I put a closure on here just simply because I wanted a closure on this one. But I love the use of stripes on this. I just really like it. I'm going to show you a couple tips when you're using stripes. Sometimes we're a little bit afraid of stripes, again, and when we start out with them, I think it's really important to pay attention to them, because I want to make sure that my stripes match when I go into my sleeves. So what I do is I put this underarm seam on my front, my back, and my sleeve all at the same place on the stripe, so that I know when I sew it together that will all be at the same place. If that's all the same place and my stripe is even, which this one is, then all my stripes everywhere else will align. It's a very simple thing to do. Okay? Alright, so with this one, generally when you're playing with stripes, you want to do a little twist up. For instance, I did them horizontal on the body, I did them vertical on the front, and I did them vertical on the collar as well. That's just what I decided, how I decided I wanted to do them. I had to do these horizontal because the stretch was only one direction on this fabric. It wasn't going both directions, so the stripes had to go around in order for it to work. Then I want to show you the side seams, because the side seams of this garment, if you notice, they match all the way. They're a little bit off here, even with the dart. Now whenever you have a dart, they can't line up exactly, they just can't. But on the side, if you've noticed, when you're doing a dart, you could make it a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. Don't go smaller. You can make it a little bit bigger, and you can get those lines to line up all the way top and bottom. So let me just kind of explain that to you. In doing this dart, and this is a C cup, when I went to actually line up the lines here, I was a little bit off, and so it could line up here because I had lined that up, but once I got to the bottom I was a little bit off, so I made that dart a little bit larger. It didn't change anything, it didn't make any difference, but then it allowed the bottom to line up as well, so that I got the whole entire side seam to line up. In order to do that, you want to cut the bottom. I cut it just 2 inches longer. You don't need really that much. An inch longer is okay. And that way, if I need to make the dart a little bit larger, I've got some length at the bottom and it will correct itself. And it's perfect to getting the whole side seam, even with a dart, to line up. So that's what I would recommend to you. And that way the stripes in this, everything aligns, front, back, everything aligns all the way across. I just really like the top. Okay? Most of the time, like I said, I'm going to wear it open. And that's, the look that I'll go with. But either way is good. Okay. No hood on the cardigan. 311 Victoria's top. No hood. You could put a hood. You can steal a hood from something else. Fur. Let's make a really easy little fur piece. Fur is really easy to work with. We talked about fur vest a little bit earlier. I would definitely recommend for fall a fur vest of some kind. This is a trend that's really, really popular, and they're very expensive, which is why I picked up on them. The fur vests are not cheap either, don't get me wrong, but I'm seeing these in Armani. I saw them in Eileen Fisher had one. Lafayette 148 had one. I think there's one in every manufacturer out there has got one. Now this is a stretch fur. The stretch has to go around the body. You're just going to make this pattern. What I did is I measured around my shoulders, and as to how much I needed it to be, because you don't want it to be like a straitjacket. You want it to give you enough. And it's like a shrug, except that it completely covers you. I just think it's cute as can be. If you don't like them, you're not going to do one. You got to like it before we start. So in this particular case, I just cut a yard long, and so I doubled, and then I cut it in half because I wanted it to be fur on the inside as well. So it's only 18 inches long. And then right as you get to the top, just say, like, if this is my pattern, you're going to round the shoulders. So you're going to take your French curve and you're just going to round it like this at the top so that it will come in just a little bit at the top, and it's like a little dart there at the side. You don't have to have a seam over there because I just did it in one piece. So it's all one piece. I only had one seam at the side, but then still on this side I still shaped the shoulder like that, and on this side I still shape the shoulder like that as well. And what that will do is we'll just hold it onto your shoulders, and you just literally put it over your head. Your arms are under here. So you can wear it up a little bit if you want. You can wear a little bit of a cowl if you want to manipulate it to where it comes in a little bit. You can do that. Lots of options. But like I said, it's a stretch fur. I would not try to use this in a regular fur, in a faux fur. It feels like a straitjacket. The stretch really gives you a little bit of movement, and it's really a great fun accessory for fall. So with the fur, you either want to do a coat, a little accessory like that, a little shrug, or a vest. Don't do a lot of, whenever you try to do fur sleeves, I think it kind of starts looking like a little polar bear, but your call. All right, another trend that I noticed for fall right now, really strong, we talked about it last week a little bit, are these sleeveless vests. Can they see this okay? These sleeveless vests. So I used pattern number 1750. Now I use 1750 because, let me go through the process of what I was thinking along this road. The first thing I was doing, I chose the fabric. I absolutely love this fabric. I wanted it to be, because it's two-sided, so I wanted to pick a pattern that was two-sided. I didn't want any facings or linings. I didn't need any of that. And I wanted a great selvage because I wanted to put a little bit of selvage on the collar. And this has beautiful selvage. So I kind of picked it for those basic reasons. It was a knit, two-sided, had a great selvage. That's what I was looking for. So there's a lot of fabrics that could have fallen into that, but this is what I wanted. So this is pattern number 1750. It's actually a princess seam. I was at Neiman's a couple weeks ago, and there was a whole bunch of ladies trying these on. The store was really crowded. A bunch of people were trying them on. They're all over the place for fall, except they're all straight and boxy, every one of them. So I was kind of watching people try them on, and most everybody wasn't even going to the dressing room. People, literally these two ladies were just trying them on in the middle of the store. And what I noticed is the ladies themselves were really thin, but by the time they put on this straight pillowcase, I'm going to call it, then they looked heavier than what they looked. So that, in observing that, that was my thinking that I was going to use 1750 because 1750 Robin's jacket is a princess seam. So I got a lot of shaping out of this jacket. I mean, it's beautiful. This vest is just beautiful. Plus it had a little bit of elastic in the back. I put that there to just pull in the back. So I wanted a collar. I wanted the drama of the collar, which this has, and all I did to the collar, now in Robin's jacket, the collar is just like this. It's like a real small collar. So all I did was take it from this point here. Let me show you on the other side. Take it from this point here, and I drew it all the way over to the other side. So I took center front and measured how far the other side was, and I took it all the way over and then went right back in, didn't change that top button, didn't do anything. All I did was literally draw that one line, because on most of these the collars are very dramatic, and of course the rest of the jacket is just, part of having a wide collar makes you look skinny down below. So I did that, and I just went ahead and gave that little selvage on the collar. So it is sleeveless. I serged and turned under the armholes just to give it a little bit of finish there. You would not have to, because I actually left the front plain. I didn't do anything to the front at all. I did hem the bottom because hemming has a tendency to give the garment some weight, and it helps it drape better. And so I'm usually hemming the bottom because I think it just gives it a better finish as far as it draping well. But I just love this. I think it's so pretty. It's so easy. It looks so nice on. And again, what I like about vest is when I'm just trying to add a little bit of warmth, and if you double sleeves you get too hot, these vests are perfect for just throwing over something that's already long sleeve anyway. This is the deep purple that we have, and you guys saw I had done this top before, and this purple goes really well together. It looks great. Little leggings. I'm good to go. Okay, any questions on that? So look at your fabric. Both sides were beautiful. I wanted to bring out that both sides were just really, really pretty. The fur is, all the furs that are out there right now, they're black. So, I didn't have a choice of making brown fur because we just didn't have it. And fur has a tendency to be a little reflective of the light as well. So it's difficult to see. But again, let me just tell you that for me, it was 44 inches. By the time I measured around my shoulders, it was 44 inches. So I cut it 44. Now the fabric is 60 inches wide. So I took a yard of fabric, I cut off, 16 inches because I didn't need it. So I had my 44 by 36. I folded it in half and I put a seam all the way around the top because that made it double layers. And then I just took these two little angles at the shoulder to keep it on. That's it. I was done. Very simple to do. And like I said, if you're shopping at all, you'll see them all over the place. I think they're cute. And again, it's just when you want something on, but you don't want something really heavy. Which one? The jacket? Does that help? Okay. All right, there's two more things I want to mention to you. And I know we're at time, but there's two more things I want to mention. Then we'll give a few more minutes for questions. Accessories. There's two accessories that I've seen, one repeatedly. So we actually did something. We went and I've got a girl in Fort Worth that she's done jewelry for me in the past, is these chains. So triple link is what's really stylish right now. There's actually there are 3 times. And all 3 worn at the same length. It's a beautiful, beautiful look. When you buy these chains in metal, they're generally very, very heavy to where at the end of the day, like I have a headache from wearing the chains because they're just so heavy. So these are on the site. This necklace is on the site. It's one necklace. It's just 60 inches long. So you can triple it. And the reason I did these is because I could not find what I wanted. I looked at John Hardy and their sterling silver necklace was $1,500. I thought that's absurd. It's just silver's not even that expensive. And then I went to like a Macy's and I went to all the in-betweens and I couldn't find the lengths I wanted. I wanted 60 inches long because the triple effect is what's being shown right now and I just love that triple look. So I called my jewelry girl and said, okay, can you just do me a simple little chain, but I want it in sterling silver. I want silver. I don't want metal because silver's so light and this is beautifully light. The whole thing weighs, we weighed it, what was it? 2.4 ounces. And we put them up on the site. I don't have a lot, but it's all she had. And so we put them up for $199. And that's just about what we paid for them. But they are really beautiful. They're really light. And I just couldn't find it anywhere out there. These are really stylish. I love the length. I love everything about it. All right, and then this. So I was at Chanel and I saw this belt and this gentleman was helping me and I just love this belt. And I'll show you in a minute how you can wear it. You actually can close it and turn the buckle itself around to the back so with just the pearls are showing. So this belt at Chanel, now I like the belt, you have to like the belt, was $1,500. And I thought, okay, and I said to the guy, the pearl's real? He said, no, those are, he said, well, they're real, but they're a cultured pearl. So it is a real pearl. So I actually bought real pearls, cultured pearls as well. And I said, okay, so how does it get to $1,500? He said, well, it has the word Chanel on it. There was it didn't have the word Chanel, actually. It had 2 little CCs right on the very front. Now mine does not have 2 little CCs right on the very front. The pearls are 1 inch apart all the way around. This is so cute. I actually put this on a little sweater that I had. It's adorable. It's really, really cute. And I took, the belt was $4. I bought it at Marshall's or TJ Maxx, whatever one of those are. The pearls cost me $40, 1 inch apart. I bought E6000 glue, made spots, and then just dropped the pearls on, and an hour later I have my $1,500 belt that cost me not even $50. So I just love doing stuff like this. Now I'll wear the belt to where the pearls are to the outside, so you, even if it was a Chanel, you would never even know that it was a Chanel or not. All right, so you have everything you need. What you want to do is start with your fabric, and we'll answer any questions you have. Start with your fabric. Find out, ask yourself what it is you love about the fabric. Go to your quarry of patterns and pick the one that works for you. All right? If you make it up and love it, then you don't need to ask about the process. If you don't like it, then you need to figure out why you don't and do it again. Don't quit. Don't quit. Quitting is for quitters. Don't quit. It just means you need more practice is all. All right? And hopefully everything in my brain is now with you. It is a continuous necklace, yes. It's just got one clasp on the back. The reason I like this, let me tell you another little secret about this, is it can be a belt too. So it has a clasp where you can actually make it a chain link belt as well. It's really beautiful. Depending on your size, you can make it double or single. Okay. We are going to change up the schedule a little bit. Next week, we are going to have a webcast. Just simply because of our calendar for the next month, we wanted to get 3 webcasts in. And if we skipped a week, any week, we couldn't get 3 in. And I really wanted to get 3 in because I've got information planned for all 3. So next week, our pattern of the month is 650, the wrap top. And we're going to do a webcast next Monday. So if you haven't had too much of us, we're going to be here next Monday. All right, questions. What are the pattern numbers for the top and skirt that go with the purple vest? This top is pattern number 113. It's called Sunny's Top. And I did this on a webcast where I just fringed this. This was our hippie look. And top and what? Skirt? Leggings. It's got leggings on underneath there. Yeah. 113 and the leggings are 5019. Oh, I added 8 inches to the bottom of the jacket. 8 inches. But again, that all depends on how tall you are. You guys know that. But you either want to make it just above your knee or at your hand length. If you put your hands down by your side and grab the bottom, either go there. This one goes to above my knee. So that 8 inches took it down to above my knee. We don't do swatches. We don't. My biggest problem with swatches is that you have to charge so much more for the fabric to cut up yards of it and mail it out. So, you know, the goal is to keep the fabric as inexpensive as we possibly can. That's always been our goal. We don't swatch. The fabric goes so fast too. By the time you get the swatch, the fabric can be gone a lot of times. So we just don't swatch. Can I put some elastic in the back of the fur vest? No. Good question. It's too bulky to put elastic in, you guys. But what you can do in fur is you can make darts. When you're sewing on fur, put the backing together, put the fur to the outside and stitch it. You can make darts. When you're doing a fur pattern, you should be picking a pattern that has shape to it. Don't pick a square pattern and do it with fur because you'll just look like a polar bear. Well, you'll just look like a fur box. You've got to have some shaping to the pattern. You can stitch darts in fur. You'll never even see the darts. It's got to have shaping. Always pick shaping if you have especially if you have a bulky fabric. Okay? Brett's catching up. All right, we've covered the next couple months. We have a lot of fun things planned, you guys. We're really excited about all of you. We're excited about the new things we're doing, and there's so many new things up and coming. We'll let you know when the time's appropriate of when it is and what we're doing, and we really appreciate you being here tonight. We will see you in 1 week. 1 week, 7 days. After that, 2 weeks. After that, 2 weeks, yes. And then I think that gets us to November 30th. That's our last webcast of the year. But stay tuned because we got fun stuff planned after that even. So mum's the word right now, but we're going to make it happen. So we'll see you next week. All right. Pattern fabric combinations. Any questions you all know, let me know, and I'm happy to answer. All right. Good night. Happy sewing. Bye.